Welcome back to Hot Air, the show where I say things that your therapist likely will not. Things that your friends are too scared to say to you, and things that your mom pretends not to know. Don't mothers just love to pretend that they're so aloof? I'm your host, Josh, and today we are diving into the chaotic, magical, slightly terrifying world of cuffing season. Yes, it is that time of year when the leaves fall, the nights get longer, the holiday playlists hit every shopping mall, and suddenly your brain goes, if I don't have someone to cozy up with, I might actually evaporate into thin air, but do not panic. This episode is your survival guide, and frankly, my survival guide. My dating episode, the 5 terrible dating tips episode that I did a gazillion years ago, is my most popular episode, so I'm back with more specific to cuffing season. So we're going to do what Hot Air does best. Take all that dating advice that you have heard, all of the cliches and toxic tips, and we're going to flip them into real world, actionable strategies that actually work. We'll bring in insights from therapists, matchmakers, dating coaches, talk about the psychology behind cuffing season, give you the tools to protect your emotional health, and make sure that by the end of this episode, you're dating smarter and not more desperate. Now, before we do, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok at _HotAirPod for other fun reels and little episode clips and behind the scenes stuff. You can also shop my merch, which is a great way to help support the show because your boy makes $0 off of this thing unless I sell some merch. I've got cute mugs, tumblers, hoodies, t-shirts, stickers, all the fun things. Great holiday gifts, wink, wink, and they come in like a week. So you can go to hotairwithjoshuarobert.com to shop merch, and you can also submit your listener stories and topic suggestions there. So grab your wine, grab your blankie, maybe grab a man, grab a woman, grab a they, grab a them, grab someone who's non-binary, grab a situationship. I don't care. Grab yourself. Do it in private, but grab yourself if you must, because this is going to be the cuffing season survival mode edition of Hot Air. I think I'm ready. Let's hit it. All right, before we get into the good stuff, the tips, the insights, the girl do not do that moments, let's start with the basics. What even is cuffing season? Because for a long time, I had no idea. It was like a foreign language to me. Why do we all suddenly want a relationship the moment the temperature drops below 65 degrees? I mean, if you're in California. Once it gets freezing and it's snowing, it's game over. Basically, scientifically speaking, and this is real, your brain goes a little bit feral in winter when it's cold and dark and Target is selling matching pajamas for couples. Your serotonin drops, your loneliness skyrockets, and suddenly you're willing to date people who list vibing as a personality trait. Therapists call it seasonal vulnerability, and I call it, oh God, I do not want to show up at that Christmas party alone again. But here's the truth. Cuffing season isn't evil. It isn't stupid. It isn't desperate. It's just human. We want warmth. We want closeness. We want someone who's going to watch trash TV with us in those matching pajamas. I live for a matching pajama set. And here's the problem. Cuffing season can also trick us into making pretty chaotic decisions, like committing to someone because they have a heated car seat. Personally, I prefer the car seats that have the air conditioning like right in the crotch because I overheat all the time. Like I am always running hot. So that to me is like green flag, but I'll take a heated car seat too. Or what about tolerating a man who has 3 towels total just because it's cold outside? Don't lower your standards. But that's why we're flipping dating advice today. So you don't accidentally cuff yourself to someone who thinks that soap is optional. And now that I say that, maybe I'm single because I keep forgetting to fill the hand soap in my bathroom. So I keep having to walk to the kitchen to wash my hands. Add that to my to-do list for today. Don't tell anyone I said that, okay? So now let's get into some of the most common dating cliches that you hear around cuffing season, the stuff that well-meaning people tell you to do, and how we're going to flip them into dating advice that actually doesn't make you regret who you are in January, because we're supposed to be like re-upping our life in January. I live for a fresh start, so we don't want to look back on December with regret. And I follow a lot of therapy and dating accounts, and I looked into a bunch of different blogs specific to cuffing season for this episode. I took notes, lots of them, so that you don't have to. And we're gonna take that dating advice that I've stolen, basically, from all of these different little blogs, dating advice that should have stayed in a bad rom-com, and we're gonna turn it into something usable. And I decided to call these not so usable, terrible tips cuffing season shit tips, because why not? So let's start off with maybe the most overrated, oversaid, overquoted piece of dating advice ever. Cuffing season shit tip number one: just be yourself. Stick with me, okay? Don't roll your eyes. I know some of you are like, oh God, but great, right? Which version of yourself? The version of me that's thriving, the version of me that cried in my car yesterday, the version of me that's unhinged but charismatic as fuck. Like, people act like yourself is a fixed setting and not a full cast of characters. The real problem with just be yourself is that it assumes self awareness. It assumes emotional regulation. It assumes you've done the inner work to know who you even are in the first place. And most people have not. Most people are on that journey. And a lot of people haven't even started the journey, actually. So here's a little bit of a flip. Instead of just be yourself, why don't you be your centered self? Show up as a version of you that is calm, that is present, that is grounded and connected. Don't show up as your fear. Don't show up as your anxiety, not your persona that you want people to see you as. Your core. Show up as your core. Matchmakers and dating therapists always say people make better connections when they feel emotionally regulated, not performative, not trying too hard, and also not shrinking. We've all done all of the above. So the real advice is be your best authentic self, the one who isn't trying to impress, but also isn't spiraling. That's the version that people fall for. And to be quite frank, that version sometimes takes a little bit of Xanax to help it out. Let's be real. So here's when I realized that this whole just be yourself thing should happen over time. I went on a date with this very cute guy and I thought, I'll just be myself. Everything's fine. Yeah, big mistake, okay? I spent the first hour rambling about my weird anxiety rituals, like my full moon ceremonies and how I have to unplug my iron 700 times, then my obsession with horror movies and my very strong opinions about pineapple on fucking pizza. That's a big no-no. And by the end, he looked like he'd been trapped in a tornado of oversharing or like locked in my basement for at least a decade. And that's when it hit me that just be yourself doesn't mean unload your emotional dumpster immediately. The flip is show up as your centered self. And now when I go on dates, I focus on being more authentic and being present, the version of me that's fun, that's grounded, and not a walking therapy session. I do love having those deep conversations. I want people to get to know me when I'm on a date and I want to get to know them, but that happens over time, right? You don't have to just lay everything out there at first. You got to keep them coming back for more. So let's move on to cuffing season shit tip number 2, play hard to get. This is the game that absolutely nobody has time for. And we are far too old, too tired, and too emotionally wounded from our 20s to be playing peekaboo with our feelings, right? The problem with playing hard to get is that it teaches people how to live without you. It introduces uncertainty instead of chemistry. It creates distance instead of desire. And half the time, the other person just assumes that you're disinterested. So the dynamic gets very awkward and it dies before it even starts. The flip, don't play hard to get. Play easy to lose. Meaning, be warm, be open, don't tolerate inconsistency. A dating coach once put it like this: teach people early that access to you is earned by consistency, not by games. If they show up, great. If they don't, you're not going to be chasing them down like a raccoon in the backyard. Healthy desire is clear, it's mutual and responsive. It is not cryptic. I'm pretty sure I've said something along these lines before, but playing hard to get is unnecessary. If somebody likes you and you like them, you show up. End of story. And now, my personal experience with Play Hard to Get. I once met a guy at a bar, once upon a time, and I thought I would play hard to get. We exchanged numbers, and then I didn't text him back for like 3 days, thinking that it would make him chase me. And instead, he ghosted me, basically what I was doing to him, and completely disappeared. And I spent the next week obsessively refreshing my phone like a fucking fool, right? I was playing hard to get, and this person was probably leaps and bounds ahead of me and was just like, absolutely not, okay? Lesson learned. Don't play games. The flip is be warm, be consistent, show up while keeping your boundaries. You got to protect yourself a little bit. And now I let people know that I'm interested, but only if they show up too. I'm no longer afraid to be like, yeah, this is what I'm down for. This is what I'm looking for. If somebody texts me, I'm going to text them back relatively quickly, unless I'm far too busy. And again, if they're intimidated by a text that is quick, they're not on the same page as you. Let's move on to cuffing season shit tip number 3. Lower your standards. Ugh, the cringe advice that everybody gives you. I mean, this has so many different degrees to it as well, and it irritates the hell out of me. So people always say, maybe you should lower your standards. I'm sorry, lower my what? Lower my what? Lower my standards so I can end up dating someone whose greatest act is refrigerating their leftovers? No, the issue is not standards, it's expectations. Standards are about values. Expectations are about fantasy. Standards say, I want somebody honest, kind, consistent, and expectations say, he must be 6 feet tall, send good morning text daily, have a 6-figure income, and know which crystals heal the throat chakra. Standards keep you safe. Expectations, they keep you single. So the flip here is keep your standards high and your expectations flexible. Matchmakers swear by this. They say most people find love when they stop treating dating like a casting call for a Marvel movie and instead make room for the human being in front of them. Look at character, not checklists. That's the shift. I have so many friends that are like, he needs to be tall. He needs to look like this celebrity. Like, I need someone that is an 11 out of 10. And I'm like, guys, it's not likely. Okay. Keep your standards high, but your expectations about dating a fucking 6'4" model, highly unlikely. And let's talk about the time that I lowered my standards to the earth's fucking crust. I once dated a guy because he was available during the holidays, and I convinced myself that I needed to lower my standards, which was a huge mistake. He was fun for an hour, but later I realized his communication style, life goals, emotional availability were so not compatible with mine. And the lesson, keep your standards for core values like honesty, respect, and alignment. Standards are good, but be flexible on the small stuff. Never settle for someone who does not meet your essential criteria. What are those pillars, those building blocks that are important to you in a relationship? Those are standards. Income, height, race, those things are expectations, and those should be flexible. Cuffing season shit tip number 4, don't be too picky. This is the cousin to lower your standards. But here's the truth. You're not picky, you're protective. You're cautious because your experiences have taught you to be cautious. The problem is the world assumes pickiness is a personality flaw when sometimes it's just trauma wearing a trench coat. So instead of stop being picky, here's the real healthy flip. Stop being passive. Stop waiting for the perfect person to appear and start intentionally pursuing the kind of people who align with your values, with your standards. Dating coaches say focus on high yield behaviors, going to events where the kind of partner you want actually exists, joining groups aligned with your lifestyle, being proactive and reaching out. You're not too picky, you're too passive. And this is something that I have been adding into my dating experience, maybe just in the last few months, trying to think about different groups that I can join or social activities I can do where people, not only just for romantic purposes, but friendships where people that align with me are going to be. I'm choosing to spend my time wisely as opposed to just wasting time hanging out with people that likely will never lead to what I am looking for. So I have a lot of girlfriends, right? But me hanging out with a bunch of straight girls at a straight bar it's not likely going to align me with other gay men that have the same interests and passions and are ready for a relationship. I'm going to be around a bunch of straight bros. Hello, it's San Diego. So I've been going to a few more social events. I've been trying to go out more with my friends in the gayborhood here in Hillcrest in San Diego and trying to be more friendly and open my eyes at the gym and put my resting bitch face to the side, which is really hard because I have a lot of Botox, but I try my best to smile. But basically, it's putting yourself in the position so that you can meet somebody that is on your level. You can't do it at home by yourself. Cuffing season shit tip number 5, don't talk about what you want too early. This is the recipe for wasting months of your time. The classic fear mongering advice that says if you mention wanting a relationship too early, that you're going to scare people away. And listen, if your desire to build something scares someone away, they weren't planning to stay with you anyway. They were a seasonal worker in your heart's department store. Like, good riddance. The problem with this advice is that it sets you up for confusion and misalignment. You spend weeks vibing with someone who thought that it was casual. Meanwhile, you're already picking out your matching holiday pajamas. It's always going to come back to those matching holiday pajamas. So the flip here is state your intentions clearly, but softly, not like I must lock you down by Valentine's Day. More like I'm dating with intention and I want to see where things can go with the right person. Dating therapists say that clarity early prevents heartbreak later. It also weeds out the time wasters, the breadcrumbs, and the I'm just seeing where life takes me crowd. We know that everyone is on their own path. And for me, if I see somebody, even on their Hinge profile, that's like figuring out their dating goals, I know that that doesn't align with me because I am ready for a long term partner. But I'm not going to go on a date and be like, I'm ready to settle down. I want to get married within da 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 da. No, let the conversation go there naturally. So, like, I met someone and I waited weeks to talk about wanting a proper relationship because I did not want to scare them off. And about, honestly, it was like 3 months later, I found out that he was just casually dating other people, which is fine, but it's a classic mismatch. We didn't talk about these things. The flip, be upfront with your intentions early, not scary upfront, just be clear. Like, say something like, I'm dating with intention. I'm open to seeing where this goes. Like, it saves a ton of time, avoids heartache and awkward conversations. But hey, listen, that guy that really sent me for a spiral that I spent 3 months texting with is the reason I started this podcast. So it all happens for a reason. Even if you don't state your intentions and you get completely sidetracked and surprised and a little bit heartbroken, you start a podcast out of it. So whatever, learn my lesson. Next up, cuffing season shit tip number 6, give people endless chances. No, you are not a rehab center. The be patient advice gets weaponized all the time. People start tolerating inconsistency, flimsy communication, and low effort because they're trying to be the bigger person. But here's what therapists say: early dating is the interview. That is when people show their truest patterns. If someone can't even maintain interest in the easiest phase of dating, the fun, the newness, the excitement, how do you think that they're going to be when real life hits? The flip is give grace, not chances. Grace says that I understand life happens. Chances say, please run me over again. One shows compassion, the other shows a lack of boundaries. The healthiest people create space for human imperfection, but do not make a home for repeated patterns. My ex always used to say, dating is like an interview process. It's like a job. And I used to be so against that. I mean, mind you, we were like engaged and then got married and he was still saying that. I'm like, is the interview over yet? But I do see that now. And it's kind of funny. There's a lot of things he would say to me that I now understand. But I do give him credit for a lot of these insights and things that he would say to me that I now see, specifically this. It is an interview process. You don't just dive right into the job. You don't just get the job. You're learning about someone, you're learning their skill sets. And if you fuck up at your job, you get fired, you get let go, and you get replaced with someone that can actually do the job correctly. Now, I once kept forgiving a guy who would consistently cancel plans. I'd be like, oh, it's fine. I told myself, like, people are busy, everything's okay. But this happened over and over and over and over again, and very last minute, until I realized that his pattern wasn't about being busy. It was about showing me where I ranked on his priority list, which was not high. The flip, grace is fine, but repeated patterns require boundaries. Now, I notice early now and I stepped back before investing too much energy. This guy canceled on me. It was like 3 times an hour before. And by the third time, I literally texted him back and I was like, well, at least you're consistent. And I've never talked to him again. Don't fuck with me, okay? I'll come for you. Cuffing season shit tip number 7. You'll find love when you're not looking. How cute, but incorrect. This is the granddaddy of all useless dating advice. You'll find love when you're not looking. Sweetie, when I am not looking, I don't even find my car keys, okay? What makes you think that I'm gonna find a soulmate when I'm not looking? The truth is that, yes, desperation pushes love away, but so does being passive. Love comes from intentionality, showing up, putting yourself out there, opening the door for connection. I feel like this shit tip kind of encompasses all of the tips we've gone through and will go through. You don't need to hunt, right? But you do need to participate. The flip is stop seeking love and start creating conditions for love. I really do love this one. Create the conditions for it. Live a life that a relationship can fit into. Build routines that allow connection. Go out, engage, be seen. You don't manifest love by doing absolutely nothing. You manifest it by becoming someone who can hold it. And I have two little stories here. But one is that when I did meet my ex, I made space in my closet for him. Before I even met him, I like made sure that I had an empty space for a toothbrush. I think I read that in The Secret about making space for the relationship. And I keep intending to do that in the apartment I currently live in, and I haven't. And again, perhaps I will do that and maybe my person will show up randomly at my front door. But make space for them in your life. They have to fit into your lifestyle. I mean, my second story, kind of not really a story, but like I've spent months passively hoping that love would just fall into my lap while I'm like binge watching Netflix alone, right? Spoiler alert, it didn't. I sit there on my sofa thinking that scrolling through the apps is me being active and being open to love, but it's really not. I've realized now that sitting at home, swiping left and right was not helping anyone. Least of all, me. The flip, create conditions for connection. Got to get out there. You got to engage. You got to meet people intentionally. Let the universe help, but don't just wait on it. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. I went to this networking event with 150 random people I've never met before. Anxiety central. I was sweating through my jacket, like bad, but I did it. I made some connections. I got some numbers. End of story. I did it. It wasn't that bad. Cuffing season shit tip number 8. Maybe not so much a tip, but cuffing season pressure. We're going to talk about that. Cuffing season is like a holiday pressure cooker. During cuffing season, people panic, they rush, they romanticize, they latch onto the first emotionally available human like a koala to a tree. But therapists say this is the worst time to choose someone based on emotion alone because your brain is chemically craving connection. So the flip is slow it down, observe. Don't assign meaning prematurely. Don't label something that's simply convenient. You can date during cuffing season, just don't let cuffing season date you. And just think about it. Next time you're scrolling through Instagram, think about how many gays last week were single and are suddenly posting pictures with their significant other. It's because December's coming and they want presents. Like, hello. Okay. One December, I met someone and felt the classic cuffing season panic. If I don't lock this down by New Year's, then I'll be alone forever. And it's that like I want my New Year's kiss and like romanticize all those things. So you try to lock it down. I rushed into a short-term fling that very quickly fizzled, which is also okay. Like, as long as you're not seeking therapy after. But the lesson is slow down, observe patterns, check for alignment, and don't let seasonal anxiety dictate your choices. Now I date with curiosity, not panic, and the connections that stick actually matter. Those were your 8 shit tips. And now that we've dismantled bad dating advice, it's time to arm you with tools that actually work. Like I said, I've done a lot of reading from therapists, dating coaches, blogs who see the cuffing season chaos every single year, and their advice is gold. First, let's talk strategy, okay? You don't need 16 apps open at a time. You don't need multiple tabs of chat and a spreadsheet to manage your love life. I mean, I wish I did because that would mean I had one, but whatever. That's chaos masquerading as choice. Instead, why don't you pick one or two apps or social settings that align with your values and actually have the type of people you want to meet? For example, I deleted Grindr because I don't just want hookups. I've never been much of a hookup person, very rarely. My friends laugh because I always say like once a year I have a hookup. That's it. I'm basically a nun. Like, let's be real. But Hinge to me is like where people are actually looking to date. There's still some fuckboys in there, but I will focus more on Hinge than I would on Grindr if I want a real relationship. Then be consistent. Consistency is showing up, responding, and communicating is what makes someone take you seriously. Next, there's the proactive approach. Matchmakers say don't wait for love to knock on your door. Attend events, join groups, take classes, go on adventures. I sometimes go to yoga because I'm like, maybe he'll be there today. Like, put yourself out there, put yourself in spaces where the kind of people you want already exist. This is not desperation. This is intentionality. And maybe you'll make a new best friend. And finally, self-awareness tools. Track how you feel after dates. Notice patterns of attraction versus fantasy. Ask yourself, am I excited about this person or just excited to not be alone? That one question can save you months of cuffing season misfires. And also, my catchphrase for dating, do not manifest. Do not over fantasize about these men. Manifesting is not good. Now, I also think it's really important to talk about emotional awareness and some self care during cuffing season, because cuffing season isn't just about dating. It's about navigating your own emotional climate. Dating can be fun, but it can also be tough. It's like a roller coaster. This is the time when loneliness, anxiety, and holiday nostalgia spike. So you got to take care of yourself. That doesn't just mean bubble baths and overpriced coffee drinks. It means understanding your triggers. Therapists recommend reflecting before, during, and after dates. How did that interaction feel? Was I authentic or performing? Did I compromise my boundaries to keep someone interested? Make notes, journal, or vent to a trusted friend. Just don't project your panic onto your dates. Also, remember, comfort and warmth don't have to come from a romantic partner. Cozy yourself up with hobbies and friendships or self care routines that fill the void without creating a frantic, must find love now kind of energy. When you're emotionally whole, the people who come into your orbit are naturally higher quality matches. And all of these things, even as I'm saying them, even as I wrote this, it's like, oh, taking notes on a date, that seems so like crazy. But like if my therapist told me that, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go take those notes. So like just think if I was your therapist, which I'm not, but if I was and I was saying take notes, you would take my advice. So just try something new. Let's get into some holiday specific advice as well. Let's talk about reality. Let's be real, because cuffing season is high pressure, so you need clear, actionable advice beyond the 8 that we covered previously. So things like don't let the holidays dictate your choices. Just because someone is available in December doesn't mean they're the one for January. And slow down, observe behaviors over time instead of making snap judgments. If someone flakes on you 3 times, as I said before, they're telling you something about reliability, and you got to pay attention. Communicate early and very clearly. Say what you want gently but firmly. A holiday fling is fine if that is your goal. If that's what you want, go for it. But don't string anyone along emotionally if you want long term commitment. And vice versa. Also, like if you don't want long term commitment and you're like, I just want a holiday hubby, like make sure that other person also knows and protect your mental energy. This is not the season for endless overthinking or spiraling. Limit dating to a manageable pace. Prioritize fun and connection over pressure. Go on dates that bring joy, laughter, and genuine interaction rather than tests of endurance or compatibility. And as always, I love to set boundaries. When it's too much, step back. You don't have to cuff yourself out of fear. You can enter the season confident, grounded, and selective. And lately, I've been doing a lot of mindset shifting. And another shout out to Jessica, if she's still listening or listening at all. I said to her one day, I was like, oh my God, I spent like however many hundreds of dollars on this ice cream maker. Like, am I even going to use it? Like, I'm so bad with my money, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, you're actually good with your money because you can spend 300 and some odd dollars on an ice cream maker and not have to worry about if you're going to be able to pay your bills and also still be able to go on vacation. I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, you're right. It's just a shift, looking at it from a different way. I'm good with my money, so I can buy an ice cream maker. So let's continue down that route, shifting the mindset. Let's get philosophical for a hot second. Cuffing season can feel like scarcity. The idea that love is running out and you have to grab it before the year's end. You got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's, and then if you want to lock them down so you can have friggin' Valentine's Day. But what if we flip that? What if you approach dating with abundance, the belief that there are many options, many chances, and many opportunities for connection? This mindset shift changes everything. You're no longer chasing out of fear, you're engaging out of curiosity and desire. Like, if this person is the one, you'll also have next cuffing season. And the one after that, you'll have plenty of holidays to spend together. You don't have to just lock it down for the sake of this single holiday in 2025. Experts call this empowered dating. You're choosing to participate, not reacting to panic. The empowered dater knows that a missed connection is not a catastrophe, it's simply just data. Every interaction teaches you something about your preferences, your boundaries, and your needs. When you operate from abundance, you're more present, more attractive, and more aligned with people who are genuinely right for you. So, moving this along, I was wandering around Reddit, as I do the other day, the deep, dark corners where you find the best and the weirdest takes on life. And I stumbled across a post from someone who claimed to be a relationship therapist. And normally I scroll past the therapist sounding advice on Reddit because who knows, but this one stopped me and I thought, yes, this is exactly why dating feels so hard, especially around the holidays. And I wanted to share it with you because it made a lot of sense to me. And it really reframes why so many of us struggle to find lasting connection. And again, this person could be a 15-year-old kid who's not actually a therapist, but it doesn't mean that what they wrote in this advice isn't helpful, in my opinion. So here's the gist of what they said, okay? Paraphrase, but like I'm going to keep the essence of it. So people struggle to find meaningful relationships for a few big reasons. And a lot of it comes down to timing, emotional readiness, and forced connection. The therapist on Reddit explained that during times when we feel isolated, think holidays, cold winter months, Valentine's Day, or even just a big life milestone, our brains get wired to panic about being alone. Loneliness is uncomfortable and it's amplified when we see everyone else around us cozying up with somebody. And that feeling triggers the get a partner now mentality, which makes us rush and settle or latch onto people who are not right for us. Here's the kicker: relationships started out of fear of being alone almost never last. We know that. They're often based on scarcity rather than genuine connection. When someone dates because they're afraid of spending December alone, they may choose a partner who looks good on paper, checks a few boxes, or simply provides warmth and comfort, but they ignore deeper compatibility. They ignore communication patterns and shared values. Months later, they find themselves stuck, frustrated, or heartbroken, wondering why this person wasn't the one. And here is a really important point: the holidays and other socially heightened times are not magic dating catalysts. They're also not deadlines. They are stress amplifiers. When we force connection during these moments, we often override our natural filters and ignore red flags that maybe in July we would notice and be like, absolutely not. People don't suddenly become magically compatible because it's the season of giving. They remain the same humans with the same patterns they had in October. Okay. The key is awareness. Notice when you're dating out of a panic versus curiosity, desire, and genuine attraction. And finally, their advice, which I love, was simple, but makes a lot of sense. Focus on intentionality and self connection first. Make sure you're entering dating because you actually want to share your life, not because the calendar says that you should. Take time to reflect on your patterns, identify your non negotiables, and engage in dating from a place of curiosity and emotional readiness. That's when relationships have the potential to last. Honestly, I love that post so much because it really just sums up everything that we've talked about in a very sweet, cute little package. It's a reminder that so much of what we struggle with in dating isn't about us being broken or too picky. It's about timing, emotional clarity, and avoiding the trap of forced connection during those lonely seasons. So, if you're single this holiday season and feel that familiar panic creeping in, just take a breath, slow down, and remember, being intentional beats being desperate every single time. We've covered a lot. So here's the hot air wrap up for your cuffing season survival. Know yourself and your intentions before you even date. Be emotionally strategic. Show up consistently, but protect your boundaries. Prioritize authentic connection over fleeting chemistry. Communicate clearly and adopt an empowered abundance mindset. Remember, cuffing season is a chance to explore, to connect, and maybe even fall for someone remarkable, but only if you navigate it intentionally and not impulsively. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be present. You don't have to settle, but you do have to participate. And above all, you deserve a connection that feels real, that's fun. We all want to have fun, and one that's actually worth keeping through February and beyond. And that's it. Go forth, swipe wisely, set boundaries, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a love that is worth cozying up to this winter. If you love this episode, make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might need a little hot air in their cuffing season survival plan. And remember, my friends, love is not about panic, it's about being present. So stay sassy, stay warm, and stay unapologetically yourself, but like not too much. You don't want to scare anybody on your first date like I did, okay? And I will see you next Tuesday.